What would you do if you had $1 billion? A billion. That's 9 zeros. Sounds like a fantasy, right? But for some, it was a reality, albeit a short-lived one. There's something oddly fascinating about bank robberies. Maybe it's the audacity of the act, the high stakes involved, or the thrill of the chase. Or perhaps it's the idea of ordinary people driven to extraordinary lengths by avarice or desperation. Whatever the reason, bank robberies have been a source of intrigue and inspiration for countless books, films, and TV shows. But let's make something clear. There's nothing romantic or heroic about these acts. They are, after all, crimes. Crimes that often involve violence and always result in victims. And yet, there's a certain artistry to them. A meticulously planned heist isn't just a crime. It's a ballet of precision, a symphony of synchronicity, a masterpiece of misdirection. Take, for instance, the Central Bank of Iraq heist in 2003. Nearly $1 billion gone, just like that, in the chaos following the US-led invasion of Iraq. Or the Banco Central burglary in 2005, where approximately $70 million was stolen by digging a tunnel from a rented house to the bank's vault. Now that's what you call a groundbreaking operation. Then there's the Securitas Depot robbery, over £53 million stolen from a cash-handling depot in England by a gang posing as police officers. Talk about a role play gone wrong. Or the Northern Bank robbery, where an IRA-affiliated gang stole around £26.5 million. And who can forget the Dunbar armored robbery, where an insider and his accomplices made off with over $18.9 million. These are just a few examples. There have been many other significant bank robberies throughout history, each with its own unique twist and turn. So, how did bank robberies evolve over time? Let's take a walk down the memory lane. Imagine a time when there were no CCTV cameras, no alarm systems, a time when banks were as vulnerable as an open treasure chest. The early days of bank robberies were marked by brazenness and simplicity. The absence of sophisticated security systems like we see today made banks an easy target. It was a time when the audacious nature of the crime often outshone the amount stolen. Let's journey back to the 19th century, an era often considered the golden age of bank heists. The Wild West in America was a hotbed for such crimes, with infamous outlaws like Jesse James and Butch Cassidy, who made a name for themselves with their daring exploits. Jesse James, known for his audacious train and bank robberies, was a folk hero of sorts. His Robin Hood image of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, although largely a myth, captured the public's imagination. He and his gang are believed to have robbed around 20 banks, amassing a fortune that would be worth millions today. Then there was Butch Cassidy, the charismatic leader of the Wild Bunch gang. With his clever planning and execution, he pulled off some of the most daring heists of his time. His most notable exploit was the robbery of the Union Pacific Overland Flyer, where he and his gang made off with a hefty sum. Across the pond, in the early 20th century, Britain had its share of audacious bank robbers too. The Great Train Robbery of 1963, for instance, saw a gang of 15 men stealing £2.6 million from a Royal Mail train. The sheer audacity and meticulous planning of this heist stunned the nation. It was a time when the tools of the trade were as simple as a gun, a mask, and a fast horse or getaway car. The lack of CCTV cameras, alarm systems, and other modern security measures made these audacious heists possible. But as we know, with time, everything changes, and so did the world of bank robberies. Welcome to an era where bank robbers started to think outside the box, or should we say, inside the tunnel. In the year 2005, bank robberies took a turn for the sophisticated. The Banco Central burglary in Fortaleza, Brazil, became a glaring testament to this shift. This wasn't just a heist, it was an audacious display of meticulous planning and execution that would forever change the landscape of bank robberies. This was no smash-and-grab job. It was a carefully orchestrated endeavor that unfolded over several months. The robbers rented a commercial property in the city and set up a fictitious landscaping business as a cover. Then, they began to dig. Over 3 months, using only basic tools, they burrowed a tunnel spanning 78 meters in length, leading straight into the bank's vault. The tunnel was not just a hole in the ground, it was a marvel of illicit engineering, complete with lighting and even an air conditioning system to combat the oppressive heat of the Brazilian summer. The robbers worked tirelessly, removing over 250 tons of soil without arousing suspicion. When the day of the heist finally came, the robbers had the audacity to take the entire weekend to siphon off the cash. They made off with an estimated $70 million. It was a staggering sum, the largest ever stolen in a Brazilian bank heist. This monumental burglary marked a distinct shift in the way bank robberies were conducted. Criminals were no longer relying solely on force and intimidation. They were using their wits, planning their moves like a game of chess, and leaving law enforcement agencies scrambling to catch up. The Banco Central heist was a stark reminder of the lengths to which criminals would go to get their hands on a bank's riches. It was a testament to the era of sophistication in bank robberies, where audacity, ingenuity, and meticulous planning reigned supreme. But the world was yet to see the biggest heist in history. Now, what if I told you that $1 billion were stolen from a bank? Sounds unbelievable, right? But this isn't some Hollywood movie plot. It's the real-life story of the Central Bank of Iraq heist in 2003. Considered the largest bank heist in history, nearly $1 billion were stolen from the Central Bank of Iraq. This wasn't your typical cloak and dagger operation. Instead, it was a robbery that leveraged the pandemonium following the US-led invasion of Iraq. Imagine the scene: a country in turmoil, chaos on the streets, and amidst all this, a heist of astronomical proportions taking place. The bank, which held the financial backbone of the nation, was left almost empty, its vaults echoing the audacity of the heist. The sheer magnitude of this heist is staggering. To put it into perspective, consider this: if you stacked $1 billion $1 bills, the pile would stretch nearly 68 miles high. Now imagine all that money, gone, vanished into thin air. But this wasn't a job pulled off by some sophisticated international team of thieves. No, it was much more brazen and audacious than that. The orders for the heist came from none other than Saddam Hussein, the then president of Iraq. In a letter, he gave his son Qusay permission to withdraw the money, and just like that, the largest bank heist in history was in motion. The aftermath of the heist is a tale in itself. Of the nearly $1 billion stolen, only a fraction has ever been recovered. The rest remains a mystery, lost in the annals of history and the chaos of war. So the next time you hear about a bank robbery in the news, remember the Central Bank of Iraq heist. It serves as a reminder of how far some will go in their pursuit of wealth. From simple burglaries to billion-dollar heists, bank robberies have indeed come a long way. So, what have we learned from the evolution of bank robberies? Well, it's clear that these audacious crimes have come a long way from their humble beginnings. In the early days, bank robberies were often impromptu, executed by a lone individual or a small group with little more than a gun and a getaway vehicle. As we moved into the era of sophistication, we saw a shift in the scale and complexity of these heists. Robbers began to employ intricate plans, often involving multiple accomplices, advanced technology, and meticulous timing. The Banco Central burglary in Brazil in 2005 is a prime example, where a gang dug a tunnel from a rented house to the bank's vault, making away with approximately $70 million. The heists also began to involve larger sums of money. The Securitas Depot robbery in England in 2006 saw a gang posing as police officers steal over $92 million. And who can forget the staggering $1 billion stolen from the Central Bank of Iraq in 2003 during the chaos following the US-led invasion. Then, there's the inside job. The Dunbar armored robbery in 1997 in Los Angeles, California, saw an insider and his accomplices steal over $18.9 million, highlighting the vulnerability of even the most secure institutions. The evolution of bank robberies has also shown us the adaptability and audacity of criminals. The Northern Bank robbery in 2004, for instance, saw an IRA-affiliated gang steal around $50 million from the Northern Bank headquarters in Belfast, Northern Ireland. These heists don't just represent individual crimes, but rather a reflection of the times, influenced by technological advancements, political unrest, and societal factors. As we continue to advance, one can only wonder what the future holds for bank robberies. Will they become a thing of the past, or will they evolve into something beyond our wildest imagination?